Hello and welcome to Information Technology Video Developer Network. This C# starter course is intended for those who do not know anything in programming and wish to learn programming using the easiest and fastest language available today. My name is Abdurrashid Hamid. I'm a certified Microsoft specialist working for Cyber Bionic Systematics. The topic of our lesson today is Introduction to C# language. I'm going to tell you a brief history of C#. But before that, since C# is a programming language, I think we should first start with understanding what a programming language is. A programming language is a formal language that can be used to communicate with a machine, especially a computer. So we can write some source codes and give the computer some instruction using some programs. So now that we have the definition of a programming language, let's go back to our topic for today, which is C#. C# is also a programming language. Like any other language, it is used to write applications. We use C# to create applications for the Microsoft platform. C# is pronounced as C#. So this # you see here is pronounced sharp. So C#. C# is an object-oriented programming language. What is the meaning of object-oriented? Object-oriented simply means that you can create virtual representations of some physical objects in this program. Objects such as computers, pens, houses, phones, whatever you need, any physical object can be represented in the virtual form using C#. So let's move on and see how it was developed and by whom. It was developed in 1998 to 2001 as a language for developing applications for the Microsoft.NET. Now, this program, C#, is one of the latest programming languages available today. It was developed by Anders Hellsberg. You can see the picture on the top right-hand corner. This is the guy that led the development of C#. But he wasn't working alone. He was helped by a group of engineers. So, C# is an object-oriented programming language developed in 1998 to 2001 as a language for developing applications. Let's look at how this program relates to other programs. C# refers to a family of languages with a C-like syntax. Its syntax is most similar to C++ and Java. That doesn't mean it's the same. Basically, what C# does is it takes all the best parts of other languages and incorporates them into itself and gives them to you. So you have all the best parts, all the best functions of other programs in C#. Nevertheless, it also makes it easy for you. You have an easier programming language. If you are to write a program using another language, you will have a very big program like 100 or 500 lines or 1000 lines. But using C#, you can create the same program with the same functions using less lines. So C# makes our work easier and faster. The name C# was inspired by a musical notation where a sharp indicates that the written note should be made a semitone higher in pitch. Well, this is how the name was inspired, but you don't really need to know all of this. I just think it's an interesting fact for you. But how can we translate C#? What's the meaning of C#? Guess what? The names of programming languages are not to be translated. So the C# language is often called in English C#. Don't try to translate any programming language, how it's called, and you need to know the meaning. Sometimes they don't even have a meaning. That's just like the C family, so it has a C family, but C# is just C#. So pronounce it C#. Let's move to the next slide and see some of the uses of C#. These are some of the uses of C# we have here. Using the C# language, the following applications can be created. We can create desktop applications, web applications, utilities, applications for mobile devices, game applications, and business solutions. So you can see some of the uses of C# here. Let's take a look at these uses in more detail. The next on our list are desktop applications. Desktop applications are applications that run on your desktop or laptop computer without requiring the browser to run on. Some examples of desktop applications include Microsoft Office, which includes PowerPoint, Word, Excel, and of course, Outlook. Other examples of desktop applications include your media player, Notepad, Paint, and Calculator. The next on our list are web applications. Web applications are applications that are stored on a remote server and delivered to computers over the internet through a browser interface. Now, I know you're wondering, here we have Excel, Word, and PowerPoint here. What do I mean by web applications, since we had the same examples in our previous slide? Well, they are not the same. Here, these applications are not stored on your computer. They are not installed on your computer. They are installed somewhere else, and you just access them through a browser interface. An example is the Microsoft Office 360. It is not directly installed on your computer. It is installed on a server, and you access it through a browser interface. So these type of applications are called web applications. Let's move on to the next slide and see what we have next. Here we have services. Services are also types of applications that can be created using C#. And a good example of a service is Skype. Here you have a diagram representing the working principle of Skype. But how does it work? Somewhere online, somewhere you have a server. It's a big server and it can handle a lot of customers. And here we have clients at the bottom. We have 3 clients here. If you have noticed, 2 of the clients are active, whilst the third one on the right is inactive. Now, if I send a message to somebody using Skype, it doesn't go directly to the person. Let's imagine that the first guy here is the sender. If he sends a message, a chat message, it goes to the server first, it is processed. These servers are also called service providers. So it first goes here, and then it is sent to the second client, to the receiver. The receivers or the clients are also called service consumer. So we have service consumer, service provider, and another service consumer. From a service consumer to the service provider, and it goes to the service consumer again, the second service consumer. But what happens if somebody is not online and you send the person a message? What happens is the message is not sent to the person, it is saved somewhere here on the server. When the person comes online, the message will be delivered. But if the person is not active, then the message will not be delivered at that moment. It will be delivered as soon as the person goes online. So this is how basically the system of Skype works. You have, of course, video call settings, chat, and other services. These have their servers and they are sent to the clients accordingly. Let's move on to the next slide and talk about mobile applications. Mobile applications are applications that are installed on your Windows mobile phone devices and run there. Some of the applications include mobile calendars, mobile media players, games, and so on and so forth. Then again, we have mobile clients. These are clients like Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, and so on and so forth. Moving on to the next slide, we'll look at game applications. Well, I guess everybody knows what a game application is. Basically, games that are created for the Xbox 360 are created or can be created using the C# language. If you have an Xbox 360, then you know that the games have a good graphic design and good interface and very user-friendly interface too. So you can see how we can create beautiful applications using the C# language. The next on our list are business applications. Using C#, Microsoft creates very important business applications used in the business world today. Applications which have changed the business world. Applications that have made the business world more efficient, easier, faster, and more productive. Some of these applications include accounting applications. CRM or client relationship management applications are also part of what you can create. ERP or enterprise resource planning applications, BPM, business process management applications, and the list goes on. So you can see the use of C# is limitless. Let's move on to the next slide and we'll look at some of the advantages of C# language. Some of the advantages include the following. C#, an object-oriented, simple and yet a powerful programming language that allows developers to create multifunctional applications. You do remember what object-oriented means. It means you can create virtual representations of physical objects. I told you objects like your computer, a house, a bridge, whatever you want to create in the physical world, you can create it in the virtual world using C#. It is simple. Everybody can use C#. It is very useful for engineers, it is useful to doctors, to everybody. So everybody can learn C#. It's very easy and a very powerful language. C# combines the best ideas of modern programming languages like Java, C++, Visual Basics, etc. This means that C# has taken the best ideas of these languages, incorporates it in itself, and is giving you this package in a very easy and user-friendly way. C# allows developing software solutions quicker than any other language. I explained earlier that if you were to use another language to write a program, it will take you a longer period of time, and of course you will write a longer code. By using C#, you can have a shorter code and thus saving time and effort, and you can have your program or application very fast. C# is reliable and elegant. Well, reliability is one of the best parts of the advantage here. C# is very reliable, you can count on it, and at the same time it's elegant. To use C#, you will need to install Microsoft Visual Studio. Microsoft Visual Studio is an integrated development environment, IDE, created by Microsoft to write programs using C# language and other languages. Here is what the interface of Microsoft Visual Studio looks like. So now, let's take a look at how we can download Microsoft Visual Studio and install it. First, you'll need to go to Microsoft.com. Then you click Products. You look for Visual Studio. Here, where you have Server and Tools. You click it. You go to Downloads. And you'll have a list of the versions that are available. Of course, there is Microsoft Visual Studio Express, which is free. You can see it here, Microsoft Visual Studio Express 2013 for Windows, but I will advise you to get Microsoft Visual Studio Ultimate 2013. It has a 90-day free trial, and you can see. Why I'm advising this is because Ultimate has no restrictions. It has all the functions complete and without any restrictions, whilst the Express version has some kind of restrictions. So you click on your Visual Studio Ultimate and a window will open. Here you have download language. You can download it in English, just either download or install now. And if you wish to download it in either French, Italiano, Polish, Portuguese, Turkish, Russian, or I think Chinese or Korean, something like this, then you'll have to go to Visual Studio 2013 Language Park. But if your language is English language, so you can just download it here and install it. The installation process is very easy. It's just like any other program. You just double click on it and follow the instructions. Before I show you the interface of Microsoft Visual Studio and how to create some simple programs using C#, I would like you to know the use of compilers. Compilers are programs which help the computers to transform the source code of a programming language into a machine language. The process of creating a software involves several steps. The first step is writing a program using C# language. The second step is program transformation by a compiler into an executable file. For example, myprogram.exe. The third step is you try to run the program. Sometimes the compiler will detect some errors in your program and it will immediately tell you about them, and then you need to correct the error and try to run the program again. So basically, compilers are programs which help you to transform the source code of a programming language into a machine language. After successfully installing Microsoft Visual Studio, just run it, double click on it and run it like any other program, and a window like this should pop up. This is the start page. So what you need to look at here is you have your start, your recent. Here you will not have anything because you don't have any applications created yet, but I have, so they show up here. Of course, you have discover what's new in Ultimate 2013, and of course you can read all about this. It will help you, and you also have a lot of things down here like product videos and things. You can also watch that, but just look at how beautiful the interface is. You have your file here, new, add, close. You have your view, edit, project, build, debug. We'll learn all this as time goes on. And here you have Solution Explorer. What is this Solution Explorer? A Solution Explorer is basically somewhere that you can keep a lot of projects. It's a tool that helps you to keep some projects, maybe 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, a lot of projects. You can keep them here for easy access. So you can just work on one project and open another project and another project. So here, for example, we have program.c#cs. So here it's a program. But if you have more, of course, you'll scroll down and have more projects. I'll explain a little more about Solution Explorer later, but for now, let's just look at how we can create a new project. Creating a new project using Microsoft Visual Studio is very easy. There are two ways you can create a new project. You can just go here, you can see it here, you have Start New Project, and you click New Project. You'll have this window that you can choose the type of project you want to create. The second option you have is you go to File, New, and you click on Project. Let me just make this a little bit smaller so that you can see everything there. So this is the window that will pop up. Here you have a lot of varieties, a lot of choices here. You have Windows Forms application, you have Windows Presentation application, you have console applications. So here where you have your Windows Presentation Foundation application client applications, you can create this type of applications by just clicking this and OK. If you want a Windows Forms application, you click this and OK. If you want a console application, and so on and so forth. These applications that are here at the bottom, we'll learn them in the future. But for now, we'll just look at Windows Forms applications, Windows Presentation Foundation applications, and console applications. I think for a start, it's okay. So let's look at how to create one of these applications. But before that, what is a project? I'm talking about how we can create a new project. But what is a project? A project is a group of files put together to create one application. They may have different roles, but they are all put together to act as one. So, an example of a project I can give you using human beings. If you have 5 or 10 people and you tell them, guys, I want you to do this, all of you act as one and do this. So that thing they're doing is called a project. So basically you are putting a lot of people together to act as one and achieve a unified goal. Here it's the same thing, but in our case we are using files and putting them together. Maybe they have different roles, but you want the program to work as one. Okay, let's create a new project and see. New project. So let me just show you or tell you a little bit more about them. Here we have Windows Forms applications. Windows Forms applications are applications that usually pop up on your screen. For example, if you have an error, something will pop up, error. Do you want to check it? Okay, or cancel. Yes? If you want to delete a file, are you sure you want to delete this file? Yes, no. That is a good example of Windows Forms applications. And today we are going to take a look at how to create one of these simple applications. The next application we are going to look at are Windows Presentation Foundation applications. These are very beautiful applications. They have a stunning interface. These are apps which are used for creating presentations, creating some beautiful representations of some other things. I will show you that also as we go on very soon. Next, we are going to look at console applications. Now, we know, of course, what an application is, but what is a console? Console is basically your keyboard and your screen. Your keyboard for an input and your screen for your output. So that is your console. Now, console applications are very simple applications. Basically, you write something and it comes out on a black screen. This was how computers in the past used to work. In the past, computers were very primitive, and to use a computer, you had to know a lot of codes, you had to be a genius, but now it's not rocket science. Now everybody can do it. But why do we still use this primitive application? Well, just because we want to show people coming into the programming sphere how things work and how to create very simple applications. Of course, you have to start from the beginning and you have to start working before you start running. So here we have our console application. These are also called command inline applications because you give a command and the computer somehow processes it and then reacts to your command. So commands are also easy, but let's see how they work. First, let's create a console application and we move into the rest. But before we create our first application, I would like to give you some tips. Look at the bottom here. You have name, location, solution, and solution name. Here we have, for example, console application 2. If you want to name your program, you can name it anything you want. XXX, XXXXX, or let's say, for example, Rashid. Yes, my name should be in capital letters. Rashid. Here we go. Location also, on default, mine is C users someone 001 documents Visual Studio 2013 projects. You can change yours. Of course, I can also change mine, and you can browse and put it somewhere you want. Just go to my computer and change wherever you want. So here, I'm not going to change this. I'm just going to change Rashid and leave it like this. You have the right to play with yours as you wish. So you click on console application and you click OK. Here we go. It is ready. You can start creating your program. You can start writing your code. But let me just tell you a little bit about the interface here. You see we have toolbox here. And we also have our solution explorer here. Now, if your toolbox is missing, where you have to go is you have to go to somewhere. You have view, for example, and you click toolbox, it will be back. Okay. let's just put it like that. But for now, I just want to take it out of the equation just to have some space, and you can see everything here. Now, about the Solution Explorer, I told you that your files are kept here, your projects. Okay, my project here, I created a project called Rashid, and if I had 5 or 10 projects, they will all be displayed here. But for now, we just have one project, so it's written here, Rashid, one project solution. That's in our Solution Explorer. It helps you to get quick access to your files or your projects. Now, this is how the window is. You have namespace Rashid, the name of your file, class, it's a program, we want to create a console program, and static void main. I don't want you to pay attention to all this using system, this, we'll learn this later. In fact, you don't even need it. Namespace is just the name of your application. Class will explain later as we go on, and program you will also understand it. Static void, we'll explain that in the future. Void is just like an empty place or empty space or something. Main is the main thing here. Now, main means the entry point in your program. That's where you want the computer to first go into. That's where the computer starts from, okay? Main string. Now, string we'll explain later also in the next videos. Here, where you have to write your program, let's just do it like this so you can see. You can see this open and close curly braces. This is where you want to write your program in, okay? This is like a block. This is the body of your program. So it's a good idea also to space them so that, you know, for now you're just like starting and you want to understand it. You don't want to get confused, and for other people also to clearly read your codes. So you need to space them out. Fine. Let's see how we can create a console application. If you want to create a console application, you have to call the console and give it a command. Okay? So you write console, it's there. Now, when you ask the console to do something, you call its name. It's just like me calling your name and saying, do this for me. Okay? So you say, console, do this, and it does it. Just like me telling somebody, let's say my friend's name is Mark, and I say, Mark, raise your hand. Mark will raise his hand. Mark, eat something. Mark will eat something, yeah? Mark, call your friend. Mark will call his friend. It's the same thing here. You ask the console and you ask him to do something. So here we call the name console, and now it's waiting for a command. You can see here that it is giving you some options. Visual Studio is very easy and it helps you all the time. It gives you tips. What do you want to do? It's helping you. It's like predicting your next movement. But here it didn't predict it well, so I don't want to read a key. Let's say I want to write. You see, console, right line. I want right line, so let's go with right line. Console, right line. Now, the next thing you want to do is you want to open and close parentheses. This open and close parentheses is where you are going to write whatever you want. And you have to put double quotation marks here. And also, you would want to put a semicolon at the end to show the computer that this string has been finished. You have finished with this string. So these double quotations here are where you can put what you want to be printed out, what you want to be written on the screen. Okay, so let's imagine I want to say hello Mark, for example. Let's write hello Mark. Now I have it here, hello Mark, and this is what will be printed in the screen for me. This is what is going to happen. Hello Mark will be written. So again, we just give a little space and then we write console. You can just choose console, read key. You see, it's helping me. It's giving me options, console, read key, and open and close parenthesis, and my semicolon to show that I've finished this. So when I run this program now, you will see on a black screen, which is of course a console application, you will see very primitively hello mark written on it. Let's try and run the program. There are two ways you can run the program, okay? You can just, you see this green play like button. It's start. It means like run the program, okay? And the shortcut on your keyboard is F5. So I can either click this and my program is here. You see, hello mark. Guys, congratulations. You've just created your first application. Or if I close this and I just press F5 on my screen, on my keyboard, sorry, I still have the same thing, hello mark. So it's just a shortcut on your keyboard and feel free to use it. Now you have your first application. Let me show you some things that also happens when writing a program or an application. Let's imagine I forget to write or to type this semicolon. My program will not run. You see, it's written somewhere here. You can see it is giving me a tip, semicolon expected. So if I run the program, there will be build errors. Let's try and run it. There were build errors. Would you like to continue and run the last successful build? No. Semicolon expected. Thank you, Visual Studio. And I put my semicolon and run the program again. It's all okay now. Everything is good. So what I was just trying to show you is if you make a mistake or you have an error, Visual Studio will help you. It will tell you what your error was and where it was and what to do. So you're expecting a semicolon, put a semicolon on this line and you're okay. And of course you have a red mark wherever you have a mistake. So I hope this was very helpful. Let's move to another project. Now that we have seen and created a console application, let's try and create another project. Remember, we go to File, New, Project, and let's say we want to create Windows Forms applications. Now let me just make this a little bit smaller so that it fits in the screen and you can see whatever we're doing. So you click on this and again you can name your file again. Let's say Rashid 2 this time around. So you have another name, because if I named it Rashid, it will show me that there is a file with the name Rashid. We have a project with the name Rashid again, and you can't do that. So I will name it Rashid 2. Now we go to Windows Forms Applications and click OK. So we click OK and we have a new project. We have Rashid 2, as you can see. Yes? So now we have this file, we have this window, a very familiar window, I guess, yeah? Remember this type of windows that you have OK button here, cancel button here, yes here, delete here, and so on and so forth. You see, Windows Forms applications are very easy they're easy to create. So this is your, I think, close, maximize, minimize, and things like that. This is a type of interface that we have, a very beautiful interface. Let's say we want to create a button somewhere here and a text box somewhere here and rename it, and when we click the button we want some text to be displayed in our text box. Okay, so how do we do that? We go to our tools box, but it's not here now, so we have to go to Windows. If you are missing a toolbox, and you click Tools. Alright, let's see. Oops, 1 minute. Let me open that again. Form 1 and Toolbox. So you have your toolbox here. You can see that in this toolbox you have all Windows forms, command controls, containers, menus and toolbars, and so on and so forth. And each one of these, when you open them, you'll see that it has a lot of options. Okay, so but this is the one we want. If you go back, you can float it or dock it. So here what we want to do is we need to click this button and drag it and drop it somewhere here. Now I have my button, and I can resize it. Let's make it this big, okay? Let's make it this big and put it somewhere here. You can also align it, put it wherever you want. Now I have my button. But what happens? It's inactive. But then again, we decided we wanted to put a toolbox here, yeah? Not toolbox, sorry, text box. So you go down, you look for a text box, text box, text box. Here it goes. Click, drag and drop. And you resize it again. Let's put it here first. Let's align it and then resize it. Make it bigger and align it some more. Fine. Now we have our text box and our button. But when we click the button, nothing happens. It just gets selected. Same thing with the text box. So we need to write a program. We need to give it a command. We need to give it an instruction. Okay? How do we do that? Very easy. Let me show you what to do. You double click on your button and something comes up. Okay? By the way, if you're working on one project, it's a good idea to close the other projects if you don't need them. Okay? For example, if you want to close all this once and just leave this, you can right click on this. You'll see close all but this. It means every other window will be closed, just this will be left open. But I don't need to do that now. Let's just leave them open. They're not disturbing me. So here again, have your open and close braces. Okay? Just come down a little to make your job easier. Don't worry about what private void is, button 1, click, object sender. Don't worry about all these things. As we go further, you will learn more and more about this. For now, you really don't need them. They will just end up confusing you and making things difficult. By the way, Visual Studio and C# have already created them for you. And they're there to help you. You don't have to do the dirty work. So, let's try creating something. Let's try and assign a text to our text box. What you need to do is you write text box first, text box 1. That's the name of our text box, yes? So text box 1 and text. Please make sure that your T here is in capital letters because the computer might not recognize it. Okay? So text box 1, assign. This equal to sign here is not equal to. It means I am trying to assign a value to text box 1. So whatever I write here will be what will be displayed in text box 1. Okay? So this equal to, in this case, it's not an equal to sign, it's an assignment sign. So here we repeat the same process. You open and close double brackets and you write whatever you want inside. But right straight ahead, you can see this semicolon expected. Yeah? So I told you that you need to put this and you have your semicolon there, and now no more red lines. So imagine we want to write what? Hello Mark. For example, let's take Mark as an example and write hello Mark. This will be what will be displayed on our text box. Okay? You can run it if you want, F5, and you'll see, or you just click on this. Let's do this. Oops, it's out. Bring it inside. Oh, there's nothing there. Okay? But we have to click on the button and you'll see hello Mark as soon as you click the button. So let's do that one more time. Nothing there. You click button 1. Hello Mark comes up. But now we're not satisfied with this button 1. We want to change the name of this button 1. Okay? So we stop debugging and go back to our design and double click on the button. We can come here. We would have done it from there, but I just wanted to show you how to double click on your button and go straight into the code. So now what do we want to do? We want to change the text written on the button itself. So we call the button button 1. You see, it's helping me. And I have button 1 here. If you press the dot, it will just write whatever was highlighted there. So button 1, text, remember, capital letter. You have it here, text, and you assign a value. Okay? So we're assigning a value. Let's say, OK. We want to assign OK to button 1. And we write OK. Let's write that in capital letters. OK. And don't forget to put your semicolon. So now, what will happen when we run this program? You will see, as usual, button 1 and an empty text box. But once I click button 1, it will change to OK, and hello mark will be displayed. Let's try that. F5. Here we go. Button 1, empty text box. So let's click on this and see if it will change to OK, and hello mark will be displayed here. You see, it has changed to OK, and hello mark has been displayed. Now we have achieved something, but we still are not satisfied with this form 1 thing here, and we want to change it. We want it to be, let's say, we want Microsoft to be written here, not form 1. Of course you can do it. You can do whatever you want. So let's close this and write something here. You write this, okay, and text, not text box, but text, assign Microsoft, yeah? Okay. Microsoft. And you close with a semicolon. So now that would be changed. I will explain this when we go further in our lessons, okay? Just now, I just want to show you the uses of some of the functions of Visual Studio and C#. So let's run this program and see if it will change. Again, we have our button 1, empty text box, and form 1. So when we press this, what we should expect is button 1 will change to what? Okay. Text would be hello mark, and form 1 would transform to Microsoft. Let's try and see. Yes, here we go. You see how easy it is to use C# and Visual Studio together. It's very easy. You can create a lot of things. You can play with it. Of course, you could create 2 buttons. Let me show you something else again here. You can create 2 buttons, one for OK, one for delete, or you can do whatever you want with this, okay? And you can create as many text boxes as it's possible for you here. You can always make it bigger and have your text and your buttons all over here, okay? They will work. All right. Now, before we end this lesson, let's just step back a little and revise everything we have done and see if we can remember everything. This will take us back to our slide. Here we remember that we learned about programming. You remember programming languages are languages that we use to write applications, and the computer listens to us and gives us what we want back. So it's just a language we use to communicate with a machine, yes? And Anders Hillsberg was the creator of C#, which is right now, let's say, the fastest, easiest, and most effective language I have learned so far. And let's move on to the next slide. We also learned some of the uses of C#. Although these are not restricted to all this, we looked at desktop, web applications, utilities, applications for mobile devices, game applications, business solutions. We also looked at desktop applications. You remember, here they are: Office, Windows Media Player, Notepad, Calculator, Paint, and so on and so forth. We also had a look at web applications. We remember everything here, yes, and Skype and how services work, how you can send a message and the message goes to the server and then it goes to your client, the next client, your maybe friend or your relative, and if the guy or the girl is not online, you get the message saved and delivered whenever the person goes online. This is what like a mini server looks like. Anyway, we also revised mobile applications. We looked at mobile applications. These are applications that can be installed and run on your program, on your Windows mobile phone. Game applications, you remember Xbox 360. business applications. These are applications that are very useful today in the business world, very expensive applications. Also, they were created using C# language. Next, we looked at some of the advantages of C#, and you remember it's an object-oriented, simple and yet powerful programming language. Object-oriented meaning representing physical objects in the real world as virtual objects in your computer. So that's a very important thing. It's very useful for engineers, doctors, and a lot of professions. Everything is useful here in this world, anything that has to do with programming. C# combines the best ideas of modern programming languages. You remember that. Let's say, and then we took a look at Visual Studio. We explained in brief what Visual Studio looks like and how to create some simple applications, console applications, Windows Forms applications, and so on and so forth. The last slide was about compilers. You remember that compilers are programs which help the computer to transform the source code of a programming language into a machine language. And remember the 3 steps of creating a software. You have to write the program, then the program is transformed by the compiler into an executable file, and then you run the program. If errors are detected, you correct the errors. I have showed you how the compiler shows us that we have errors here, so this, that, this. Remember about semicolons, yeah? That is a perfect example of what Visual Studio and C# can do for you when combined together. Now, the next slide is our last slide for today. Thank you very much for your time and attention. I hope you have enjoyed this lesson, and I hope you will try to repeat some of the things we have done in this lesson. Just try to revise them. And once again, my name is Abdurrashid Hamid, a Microsoft specialist working for Cyber Bionic Systematics.